All right. Happy Tuesday, everybody, or 420. It is an interesting day. Lots going on today. We started the day. Pascal and I do every Tuesday morning. We do a show with the Left Flank Vets, Marcus the Left Flank Vets, called Not a Barbershop. It's Pascal, myself, and Marcus. And we realized that because Google told me 420 is Luther Vandross's birthday. So a happy 70th to Luther Vandross. This is also a sad day. This is the 1 year anniversary of the passing of Michael Brooks, of the Michael Brooks Show on the Majority Report. So shout out to him and his family. Leisha, I hope you're doing well. But back to, and also there was a verdict today. We're not going to get into that right now. We may get into that in the after hours, but we definitely wanted to stay on topic here. But Pascal hit me up today because we actually were supposed to have a different guest. She unfortunately is dealing with some complications of the COVID vaccine. So get well soon, Dr. Dietz. But Pascal hits me up and he's talking about how all these jobs are being lost during the COVID shutdown and how many jobs are being replaced by AI. And, to compound on that, it's not just jobs are being replaced by AI, but we're also looking at a lot of people falling into the gig economy, which is now a job market that has weakened worker protections, especially in states like California with Proposition 22, to a whole nother level. So we were kind of talking before the show about how kind of frightening this is, because I believe that a lot of people that watch this show aren't big Andrew Yang fans. But what does this mean for people like Andrew Yang that rides on a wave of faux populism on his idea of UBI as he's trying to win a mayoral race in New York City? So before I say any more, let me introduce my co-host, my homie, my dog, Pascal Robert. Hey!
My brother, my man, Jason Miles, comrade. How are you, my brother?
I'm all right. And also shout out to our moderator, John Ross, in the chat. July. Why was they saying? Oh, you know what? April 20th was not his anniversary. It was the day he did a show in LA, and it was the last day he saw his sister. So I'm sorry. I take that back. But so I apologize. Pascal?
Yes. Peace and greetings to the audience in the chat today. Today it was, I was interested in having the conversation today based on something I was talking to about a friend of mine who works in finance, obviously not a leftist, kind of capitalist, but has he's very transparent about the way in which capitalism disadvantages working class people, so on and so forth, et cetera, et cetera. And he was explaining to me that, there's going to be about a third of these jobs that have been lost due to COVID that are not going to come back. I said, what do you mean? Why are you saying that? He said, it's been estimated that somehow between 30 and 40% of the jobs that have been lost from COVID-19 have already been replaced due to automation. So what has happened is that because employers are worried about the risk of employees coming in and spreading contagion, and a lot of late workers aren't really that vested in coming in, it has accelerated the way in which technology has been used by capital to make labor obsolete. And the question I wanted to have today with our audience was that what does it mean for a left that proposes to be based on issues of the working class when capitalism makes the function of the working class obsolete? How do we organize to restructure a society in which the theoretical basis upon which we are placed, i.e., the worker is oppressed by capital, becomes reoriented by the fact that capital has so effectively used technology that the worker has no more place in its relationship with capitalism. Does that mean that our economy is moving back to a feudal type of relationship where we had landless, ownerless serfs who are just rentiers? Is there a Marxian theoretical response, even though Marx did talk about technology and capital? Maybe those who are more orthodox in terms of their Marxist adherence might be able to share with us their thoughts. So the question I want to pose is that how exactly, as people who are trying to reorganize capitalism in a way in which it brings forth more economic justice, equity, and parity for those people who are increasing in precarity, what are the arguments that are going to be made to address the way in which technology is rapidly making labor obsolete? And who are the voices on the left who are making those arguments? And I don't want to believe that it's Andrew Yang, who thinks that universal basic income, which can be used to neutralize state subsidies through government assistance, is the answer with $1,000 a month. What do you think about that, Jason?
What do I think about Andrew Yang and the $1,000 a month being the answer to making us redundant reserve labor? The reserve army of labor. This is what scares me about Andrew Yang and kind of this moment that we're in. As we're looking at a government that pretty much told us to get fucked. A federal response that was just what's a good word? A very impotent response by the federal government. What scares me about Andrew Yang, and actually, Brooks kind of used to talk about this, is he speaks to the fear of what a lot of people have, when you look out and your industry is gone. We were having a conversation about doing some more things with the show, and as the show is growing, we're going to add these little features. And the person that's going to be helping us with that used to work in the same field that I worked in when I wasn't touring, which was live music, and that's dead for a lot of people. And it's not coming back to the level that it was at before. And the big companies in that field are setting themselves up for streaming. Live Nation is setting up a bunch of their massive venues for streaming. So all these cats that I used to work with, that some of them made in the higher six figures, union jobs, gone. So I don't really see anybody talking about this issue at all outside of a few conversations about Amazon and Alabama. But when we look at the larger employers in this country, it's Amazon and Walmart are two of the largest employers, if not the largest employers in North America. And those are two non-union spots. And as there is a rise in gig work, that industry also is becoming relentless in their war against worker protections. So, I don't know. I mean, who do you see talking about this at all?
Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, this is This is my whole point, because I know a lot of people who consider themselves quote unquote left, who are impressed with Andrew Yang, but because he says UBI, and automation will replace the jobs, and UBI, and doesn't say much else. But why is it with all of these academic leftists, these left intellectuals that we have? I mean, I hear people talking about automation, but why is no one formulating the ultimate reality that we may be in a position where the working class is all pushed to the reserve army of labor? And what exactly does that mean in terms of the way in which society will be structured? What does that mean in terms of organ? Will that kind of precarity increase things like police abuse, or will it restructure economy? I mean, where exactly does that mean in terms of how will society, workers, the working class, the working poor, be organized in a way to challenge this? In other words, what are going to be, as the working class right now has the leverage of its labor. In other words, the value of labor means that when there is an oppressive situation relative to capital or the ruling class, they can go on a general strike. They can stop the productivity of capital, because they can leverage their labor to disturb the flow of capital. If labor is made obsolete, what is the leverage that the worker has to challenge capital or the ruling class to actually find a way to fulfill its needs? Does that mean that we have reduced workers to some type of radical, more extreme types of protests, destroying private property, more radical revolutionary activity? What does this mean? Or are we actually moving to a situation where we have to find a more creative way to demand reform or concessions from the state if we're interested in that? What is more disturbing to me is that I don't particularly see too many voices on the left really discussing this seriously, because everyone is still talking about workers, labor, the working class from this kind of abstract position. I know we all like $15 minimum wage. We like $15 minimum wage, but what you realize that capital is going to use the argument of $15 minimum wage as a means to say, well, this is exactly why we decided to do automation, which we know is a lie, because capital would move to automation anyway because it cuts down labor costs, which is one of the most premier goals of capital in terms of increasing profitability. So the larger question becomes to me is that how exactly does a labor becoming rendered obsolete use any means to leverage on the state and capital to make demands for humane quality of life in this particular stage of capitalism in the United States? And what is frustrating to me is that many of the voices on the left are stuck in this kind of antiquated notion, and it's ridiculous that someone like Andrew Yang who is not a leftist, he's basically corporate funded I think he's kind of a neoliberal, is considered to be the golden boy with the answers to the question.
Well, isn't that kind of the case with a lot of the tech gajillionaires, that they always are supposed to have the answers to all these questions? If it's not Andrew Yang, it's Elon Musk. If it's not Elon Musk, it's Jack Dorsey. If it's not Jack Dorsey, then it's Mark Zuckerberg, right? Isn't someone always looking to them for the Bill Gates? Well, is kind of the king of that, right?
The question that we need to ask if we purport to be members of the quote unquote left is that why are we surrendering the answers of solutions to Americans' social problems to the capitalist exploiter class that is doing nothing but marginalizing labor in the first place?
Do you think that it's us surrendering to these people, or do you think that it's people are getting more taken up into issues like, I can't remember if it was you and me on a show that we were doing, if it was on this show or another show you and I were doing, where you mentioned why you don't follow certain things like police killings. And you actually had an interesting point. You're like, I think that what did you say exactly? You said,
I said, in terms of what aspect are you talking about regarding?
Like, why don't you follow the latest.
Also, because I'm not going to have myself be socially engineered into believing
Socially,
I'm a
that's
second
the word. I'm
class.
sorry.
Yeah, being into socially engineered into believing I'm a second class citizen by having myself, my emotions corralled into a media spectacle.
And it also changes a conversation that we could be having about things like the redundancy of labor, which is a big reason why deindustrialization, which is a big reason why you have over policing in these formerly industrialized areas.
Mm-hmm.
And instead you're talking about how we can have nicer police, right?
Yeah, someone said it's a form of social control. Exactly. I don't want to be rendered to a form of social control that allows my emotions to be triggered under a racial categorization of second-class citizenship.
So I would say it's less of people letting the Yangs of the world take over that conversation and more of, I think people feel there is something to be said about watching this brutality on TV, right? And when you see that level of brutality, it triggers an emotional response.
Well, I want to say something to this. Remember, as our audience knows, one of my persistent theories on this show is about Black politics as a politics of containment, in that it forces a kind of illusory collective response to phenomenon that is managed by a Black political managerial class that basically submits its actual needs to that of the ruling class at the behest of the ruling class under the charade of racial unity or racial affinity for the Black working class and proletariat. And what I'm saying is that watching this George Floyd thing and all these police murders is a way of self-containing yourself as a Black person. Look at all the Black people are happy. All the Black people are sad. All the Black people are going to riot. So actually, your emotional connection to the visual imagery of these phenomenon is rendering you into one collective vessel that is being managed by the state and the ruling class, because you are surrendering to a certain form of social control and programming that says that because you are Black, you must feel XYZ button about this issue. And we predict that. And that's why we're dispatching Nancy Pelosi and XYZ person to say, oh, George Floyd sacrificed his life.
That may go down in history as maybe one of the worst things politicians said after an event like this, maybe. Oh, by the way, the Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders also changed. They tweeted out that justice. Wait, what was it exactly? I'm going to tell you exactly what the Raiders tweeted out. Because Jeremy sent it. I think he sent it to both of us. Did you get it? I can breathe. The Raiders tweeted out today, I can breathe for 2021.
Yeah, I mean, listen, my position is not to say that this, what happened to George Floyd was horrible. Obviously, you wanted to have some type of accountability in the case. But the thing is, though, when you are a person who allows yourself to be emotionally attached to certain political phenomenon, and the result that the state gives you through its particular vehicles of intermediaries, whether it's the court, law enforcement, the Congress, the government, or capital, you basically have surrendered yourself to social control, because they will plan that, okay, we got to make sure this is happening because XYZ people are going to react this way if this happens. Why do you reduce yourself to allow that to happen?
Are you seeing the comment on the screen right now?
Yes, the free trade agenda was part of the overall class war to render American labor unnecessary, either for production or consumption, to strip us of any leverage and prep us for incremental disposal.
Yeah.
Well, then the question also becomes that we have to ask, right? If a large part of the working class is reduced to surplus redundant labor, then how does capital maintain its profit margin in terms of a consumer base? In other words, are we going to have a kind of two-tiered society where we have a kind of serfdom of underemployed or unemployed people who may be getting some subsistence UBI that gives them a basic modicum of living, and a hyper elite smaller class, almost as kind of like Lord of the Flies, Atlas Shrugged kind of world that is able to purchase the goods and services that it needs. Would that not put the profit margins of capital in danger? Or maybe capital will readjust itself in terms of pricing. I mean, how does that? I mean, I think
we're seeing it now, though. I mean, I don't know if I don't know if people spend a lot of time traveling across the country for whatever the fuck they do, but it's not like where I live or Los Angeles is an anomaly when it comes to a ridiculously large homeless crisis. We see it right now. I can honestly say there's not one place I've been to in North America, Canada included, where I had Mexico included, where I haven't seen massive encampments. And even in our further out suburbs here in the Bay Area, they're becoming massive encampments in places where you never even saw homeless people before. So the idea of serfdom is real. It's not coming. It's real. And it was totally exposed during COVID. I don't remember if we were talking about it on the phone or on the show, but, you know, again, part of my job was analyzing numbers for very large music festivals, and the numbers were declining at a rapid rate. People were dropping festivals at a rapid rate. My last year, 2018, 2019, I can't remember off the top of my head, 45% of the festivals were done in major market cities like New York. People don't have disposable income like that anymore. You know, so, I'm seeing people. I have a picture, I've put it up. I'll put it up again. I'll find it and I'll try to share it on the screen if I can figure out how to do it. But I have a picture of the street I lived on. On that street, there was 3 Lexus SUVs that people lived in. So this isn't just raggedy ass RVs and raggedy ass cars. There was a lot of people that lived in a car, and we saw them get up in the morning and go to fucking work. So yeah, this is the reality right now. They're redundant labor, the gig economy, and massive companies like Amazon and Walmart
who will treat you like crap as an employee.
Yeah.
And will eventually replace you with a machine anyway.
Someone says, how was homelessness totally exposed? I wouldn't say, maybe that was a bad choice of words. I would say that we saw that in a time of crisis, there was really no bailout for the citizenry. And more people are actually being evicted and thrown to the streets, even with the moratorium on evictions. I mean, if you're going to sit around here and kind of be a douchebag in the chat, then I would ask the moderator to fucking moderate you, or you can just stop being a dick, unless you just want to be a dick. Like, let me know what you want to do. What's your fucking name? Ryan.
I mean, this is my thing, right? Is that, you know, I understand that we're all energized about the great awakening post George Floyd. You know, I understand that, you know, we got Netflix, you know, putting out, you know, super blackety black, you know, media spectacles of shows and themes. Is like, we love our black people. We know Amazon and all the companies. We know that, you know, Maxine Waters is rocking kente cloth and Jamie Dimon is taking a knee, and the wokeness, and we love the black people. You know, we won't, you know, but, you know, we won't change their quality of life. I get that. But in this particular cartoonish, ridiculous pandering, racial ideological pandering that is not based on any kind of materialist policy, except, you know, giving economic fatback and biscuits to a racial management class that's going to be pimping the suffering of poor and working class Black people at their own behest. What is the conversation about the way in which the political economy of this society is going to be transformed in a way that is either going to be mercilessly more brutal than it's been in most of our lifetimes, or has to be reformed into a way that, not to sound like a reformist, turns our state into a public goods form of governance. In other words, is the social democratic Sanders-esque agenda of I just call it Keynesianism with a socialist veneer. Is that even on the table, really? Or is that a charade? Is that a con game? Or is that about basically being reified into the Democratic Party just to give a patina of an illusion of progressivism to the Democratic Party that will pretend to be moving from the neoliberal consensus? In other words, is there a progressive aspiration that we have here in the post-Sanders moment, or is that really nothing that's going to be something that's just going to be consumed into the Democratic consensus as well? Do you have any thoughts about that, Jason?
Oh, sorry, man. You're gonna have to go a little longer. I'm a little.
Your mind is that? No, listen. My goal here is not to I appreciate Sanders for what he was. Right. I think Sanders' most important value was that he opened the ideological Overton window in which he allowed a critique of capitalism that had not existed in over 50 years in American society, that created a space in which people could come in and say, oh, I'm a socialist, or socialism is better, oh, we need a public goods governance, oh, the New Deal was great, blah, 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 so on and so forth, right? And I give him credit for that. And I give him credit for creating a space. Well, I mean, I would actually argue that the political economy of American society with the 2008 crash and everything that came subsequent to that from Occupy on preceded Sanders, but he did politically create a certain kind of magnet for that politics to be manifested in this campaign. I give him credit for that. But at the same time, collapsing into the Democratic Party and allowing them to manage that energy so that it facilitates validating their enterprise of being the left flank of capital that is subsumed by serving the needs of capital. How does that play out in this particular moment? And I say this not jokingly. Some people think I'm being a little pessimistic. I think that we're in the Weimar era of America, meaning that we have a reactionary right that just left office, left power, that is still very popular. I still think the energy is with that reactionary right. I think that Biden is giving concessions, trying to create an illusion of progressivism. I don't believe he's completely abandoned the neoliberal consensus, but that the actual realities of the moment are forcing him to have to make readjustments. That being said, with things like increasing oil prices, increasing energy prices, increased cost of living, rising crime rates, still massive unemployment, still massive displacement, automation, is he going to be able to, prolong this kind of charade of progressivism enough to maintain support in the midterms, or a run against someone in 2024 who's a real hardcore right-winger? Or maybe it's not 2024, maybe it's 2028. My position is that there is going to be someone, if it's not Trump, it's going to be someone who is worse than Trump, and he's going to be much more ideological.
He'll have an ideology. He'll be
much more ideologically pure. He'll be much more organizationally disciplined. and he may take this country in a position that it's no one has seen before. And I couple that with the blowback all of this wokeism is going to cause as well.
Wokeism in what way?
Wokeism is like, the whole discourse of kind of like, we have to be sensitive and cancel culture, and everybody has got to wear dashikis and kente cloth and say, hey, listen now, Black Lives Matter, except when you're paying them a minimum wage. Oh,
you didn't know that's how it works?
I know how it works. I'm just saying.
Or Black Lives Matter only if you're to that point, the Black Lives, and I'll be real brief about it. We don't have to stay on it for a long time. Back-to-back days, Breonna Taylor's mom said something against Black Lives Matter, and then Michael Brown's family came out against Black Lives Matter, said that they owe them some money because they've made quite a bit of money in donations off images of their family. And there's a huge pushback on those people from the families of the victims.
By the way, super chats are working. If anyone is interested, super chats are working. Anyone is interested, hit subscribe, like, share, press the bell, become a patron. I worry that the collapsing into the Democratic Party perpetuates the failure to understand the history of the U.S. state as a deeply bourgeois government. We can't just fight for control of a class state. LME, Sir Pascal, always so subtle. You know I love you.
Adolph Reed says BLM has 6 billion. Is that right? I don't know.
Some people say 90 million.
Well, they 90 million for sure. It was a real deal number they had. The New Seasons grocery chain in Portland has killed multiple employee attempts to unionize, yet their locations are covered in BLM. Sorry about that. Locations are covered in BLM and pride flags and Black Power fists. Yes, that is a thing. A very annoying thing. Very annoying thing.
Black Lives Matter, except if you're poor. Ooh, ouch, sting.
Who said that? Oh, Kerry Robinson.
Riverman
said that Black Lives Matter, except if you're poor. And that's kind of what we're getting at here with this question about automation and redundant labor. Because as much as people love having, hours in conversations about defunding police and this, that, and the third, a big reason why people have these quality of life crimes is because there's no fucking work or you're underemployed. Vastly underemployed.
Well, Brian says Lenin is right in the sense that we can't merely grab hold of the state as it exists. It needs to be transformed by the working class and its institutions. What institutions does the working class have if it's rendered obsolete? What are the institutions? Unions?
Yeah.
How effective have the unions been in co-optation with the Democratic Party?
Oh.
Someone said they can't send a super chat. Why is that? Oh, what?
Uh-oh. Pascal, say something profound while I figure this out.
No, seriously. What's the game plan here, people? What exactly is the play? What exactly is the play? Where is?
I think we're looking. You know what? Look, we had Michael Harris on the show as I'm trying to fix this problem. We had Michael Harris on the show that wrote his book, "Stay Alive." I think it's out now. Surviving Capitalism's Hunger Games. And when I had him on the show, and him and I were just having a conversation for the audio only podcast, that was kind of the first thing he said. His government, as well as our government, was kind of like, sorry. Here's your $1,200, U.S. citizens. Deal with it. That's enough to make it last, right? Oh, here's another 1,400. Like fucking, how many months later was that? While industries are dying out, while so much work is still moving overseas.
Again, I mean, are we just a bunch of posers calling ourselves the quote unquote left? Where are the organizers? You know?
Oh, you're going there, aren't you? You are really trying to get people in trouble.
I know Doug Lane. A lot of people was like, "Oh, we shouldn't have these quote unquote post leftists who talk bad about the left and blah blah blah." Listen, I'm not a post leftist. I was writing in left publications online before most of these kids even knew about the left. All right, I was writing I've been writing for Black Agenda Report for almost a decade.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Before Sanders was even in the picture. The question becomes, how exactly do we organize and mobilize a political response to the reality of economic precarity in our society in a way that either gets the massive reforms that will be needed? Well, I'm talking about not just a social welfare state or some kind of Keynesianism masked as socialism. I'm talking about the whole ideological infrastructure of American society, media, television, commercials, advertising. You know, the primacy that's put on violence, on exploitation of sex, of sexuality, all of the things that trigger people in this country, that put them on edge, the chemicals in our food, the whole social and ideological superstructure in this country. How exactly do we make that happen in a post-labor environment? Or are we saying that we have to go for a more radical response in which we are moving to a revolutionary situation?
So someone's asking the question, Armando, this is actually a good question. Amazon facility threatened to move if they voted for the union. What do we do about that? Seems like we're quite powerless. And Amazon wouldn't be the first company to ever do shit like that. You know, you can go to Detroit and talk to those people about that.
You know, I mean, listen, I'm not trying to act like I have all the answers because I clearly don't. But you guys, not to stroke my ego, I do ask pretty good questions.
You do. But that's the thing is, when someone asked that question about Amazon upping and leaving, when a place like Amazon comes in and they're like, look, dude, if you don't give us what we want, we're going to up and leave. You could be employing a large percentage of a small city. And if you up and leave, then you leave that city looking like a wasteland. I don't know how many people have seen what happens when Walmart soaks all of the money and resources out of an area and then up and leaves. That shit looks like a fucking war zone. Shit, LME lives in the Bay Area. Tell people what it looks like by the Coliseum where Walmart left. Coupled with the Raiders and the Warriors leaving. There's so many people living in the parking lot. It's insane. And the city and the county have been fighting over this Walmart building for years on what they want to do with it. Gary says it looks like a meth den. It does, because who comes in? What industry usually comes in and replaces the one that's gone? The illegal economy. Every time. And then what happens to the people that are left to live in the city when the illegal economy is the one that's employing everybody? They start complaining about criminals, car theft, getting mugged, ass whoopings. I was talking to Teray earlier today, and I was like, this feels like a replay of the early to mid 80s. That's how I feel out here. Thank you, Calvin. Where the citizenry asks for more policing. I'll say it again. Even here in Oakland, there is a faction of the defund movement that said in an open letter, please don't fire any police officers because these motherfuckers is out here shooting. And they are. I don't know how many people are watching the show from the Bay Area, but, you know, motherfuckers is shooting right now. And why are they doing that? So
these are the questions we gotta ask, man. These are the questions that we have to ask. So what exactly happens, right? What exactly happens in a political situation when the reactionary right is saying to its coterie and its acolytes, they're coming to replace you. They're blaming you for everything. They say you're racist. They say you're sexist. They blame you. They blame your whiteness and your white privilege. They want to destroy our society. They want to take away our prosperity.
That's, you know what, Joanna says, radicalized tech workers. As someone that worked, and I worked as a fucking contractor, so I definitely, if you work in tech, you know there's a difference between the contract people and the people that get fully vested and shit like that. It's really hard to radicalize people that feel like they've made it. And that, to me, if someone knows how to get through to those cats, let me know. Because when you work for certain companies, and I did contract work with Square, and the guy that owns Square is Jack Dorsey, who owns Twitter. So there's a lot of people that feel like that when you work for those companies, that Jack Dorsey is the king of wokeness because he's not Mark Zuckerberg, right? And it's really hard to point out inequality to these cats who literally have an office where you're going to have to step over homeless people to get to the front fucking door. We shared a building with Uber. They don't see a problem with any of that shit. It's just convenience, because that's also what you work in to a certain degree. You work in convenience. So how do you try to explain this shit to those people? And I'm asking the question because I honestly don't know. From working in there, those motherfuckers just felt so over the top, tone deaf to real problems of capitalism, because I think they saw the blight as mental illness gone amok and failures in city government, to be honest with you. So there's something to be said about trying to radicalize these people. I'll probably catch a little shit for saying it. Phoenix's mom doesn't work in tech, but she definitely has a good position where she's able to work from home, and radicalizing her is literally me doing this show for a year, and also her coming by, staying over at the studio when I was living in the warehouse and shit like that, and starting to have an understanding. But shit, I can't impregnate all of tech. I can try, but I just can't do that to try to get them to wake up. Pascal doesn't think it's funny that I want to impregnate tech. I don't want to impregnate all of tech, Pascal.
You said you want to impregnate tech. I mean,
No. I have enough children as it is. I have way too many. Way too many.
It's really hard talking to career techie millennials. They're 1,000% bought in on the system. They don't want to hear shite about poor people, just a little wokeness and making more money.
There is a lot of wokeness in that world. Oh God, there's a lot of wokeness in that world, man. I saw literal fights happen, and I'm being totally serious. I'm not. Literal fights happen over like wokeness, over lean in feminism.
Pam Davis is here. Go ahead. You leaving the state, Pam Davis?
She's been saying that for the last 10 years. She's not going anywhere. Sorry, Mom, you have to watch this boy until he can watch himself. Sorry, that's what you signed up for. That's just part of grandmothering. Totally kidding. You can leave.
Kenzo Shibata give us a $5 super chat. Shout out to Kenzo Shibata.
Kenzo's a damn fool. I believe in you, Jason. You can start your comedy tech cult. Look, man, I used to get in a lot of trouble because go ahead, Pascal.
Well, how do we fight against the weaponization of identity politics? The equation of any working class politics is simply in the interest of straight white males have been an effective strategy of neoliberals. Great question. True question. What do we mean by identity politics? Does identity politics mean that by me saying that disproportionately black people are rendered to the reserve army of labor, that there needs to be some kind of equity to stop that from happening? Is that identity politics? Or is identity politics saying, yay, chucks and pearls, I got my first black nuclear missile dropper in the White House?
It's a little bit of all of that, right? Like, again, working in tech. All of that. Anybody that's worked in that environment knows that this is the only job I've ever had where people like wearing their company logo. You go to San Francisco or Silicon Valley, and again, anybody in the Bay Area can back me up on this, or even anyone in fucking Austin can back me up on this. People walk around with company shit on like it's dope. It's only in this environment. I feel like no one walks around that works at Amazon with a fucking Amazon shirt on like that shit's fucking fire. So there was a kente cloth square shirt that they released for Black History Month that, people wear on occasion. All kinds of people, definitely. There's only a handful of Black Americans that work there. And what we found interesting, so when it was festival time was when I would be in the building a lot of times. And there was another Black dude that came from the St. Louis office, which is predominantly Black, but it's a call center, so it's a little different. And we were working on getting ready to go out to, I think we were going to Vegas for EDC. And so we're sitting together at a table, and we looked out and we noticed there was one thing that we both noticed: was Black people wouldn't sit together at these tables. We're like, they wouldn't even talk to us. We always thought that was odd. So we would talk about like identity politics, and then all of the workers that served you the food, that were for the security, that cleaned up the place, were all people of color. Always people of color. Totally treated like shit. Like on another level of treating them like shit. So trying to talk to these people about class positions, which you would think would be easy, they look at it like they're credits to their race. My mom said, when there is three, you must flee. About Black people together.
Oh, wow.
That felt like that was baked into the fucking manual.
Gene Boswell says a lot of class politics is actually people fetishizing about a mythical white working class and not understanding the objective conditions that make people working class. Well, part of the reality of American politics in the 50-year counter-revolution, which is one of our themes here at This Is Revolution podcast, is that the concept of a white working class has been idealized in both the Republican and Democratic Party to basically validate a reactionary politics of neoliberalism in which public goods government is racialized in a way to make them think that it only benefits Black people when it still disproportionately benefits them, to inculcate them into a politics that is so reactionary that it makes them feel like they are the victim. And this is something that's been done by the Republicans. Nixon did it first, i.e. the Hard Hat Rebellion. And Clinton did it as well with the third way. It actually started with Jimmy Carter, using the kind of like he's a born again Baptist Southerner and his kind of neoliberal. Carter was a conservative president, didn't help unions much, was antagonistic to unions, implemented some forms of deregulation. So let's understand something, that there's been a little bit over 50 years actually, but about a 50-year counter-revolution, bipartisan consensus, hyper-racialized, that has used race as a buffer to create an illusion in the minds of white, poor, and working class who have been increasingly rendered to precarity by this same economic system. And largely are more of the poor, more of the welfare beneficiaries. Yeah, but because they believe that their whiteness is being challenged by Mexicans and Black people, surrender to this reactionary politics that always caters to their base racialized instincts. And why is it that white identity politics isn't called what it is as well?
Are you there, Pascal?
I'm right here.
Sorry. I was busy doing my job.
Do
you see the super chat on the screen from Angie K? And one study, researchers asked Americans about their class, regardless of income, will describe themselves as middle class.
Yeah, exactly. Middle class is actually a canard that was created after World War II to basically imagine in the consciousness of Americans that they are buying into capitalism. There is no real middle class. There's a working class. There's a petite bourgeoisie. The petite bourgeoisie is what some people call the professional and managerial class, who work as the actual rentier class for the ruling class as management facilitators of capitalism. And then everyone else is working class.
I'm sorry, you're saying like important shit, and there's some pretty hilarious shit, because ever since my mom said when there's three, there flee, somebody, Riverman, said that's how he feels about film. If you see more than three Black people. So Andrew Worrell said he was going to watch Low Down Dirty Shame, but he doesn't think my mom wants him to.
Pamela Davis says, I used to be middle class in the early 80s.
No, she didn't. She's lying to you. No, she was. She had a fancy job and everything.
No, there's all kinds of identity politics. It's not just Black people, brown people, gay people. Everyone plays the identity politics hustle. Everyone plays the identity politics hustle. And in the end, it really is about, and people will say it was like, oh, class solidarity is a myth. I say, listen, let's move class solidarity out of the question. Who's getting screwed over by the economy? Let's unify around that. Who's getting screwed over by the economy?
Yeah. But I wanted to bring up so Pascal sent me an article. Sorry, get your face out of there. From not quite, about 8 months ago in Time, called Machines and AI Are Taking Over. Machines have made jobs obsolete for centuries. The spinning jenny replaced weavers. buttons displaced elevator operators, and the internet drove travel agencies out of business. One study estimates that about 400,000 jobs were lost to automation in the U.S. factories from 1990 to 2007. But the drive to replace humans with machinery is accelerating as companies struggle to avoid workplace infections of COVID-19 and keep operating costs low. The U.S. shed around 40 million jobs at the peak of the pandemic, and while some have come back, some will never return. One group of economists estimates that 42% of the jobs lost are gone forever. This replacement of humans with machines may pick up more speed in coming months as companies move from survival mode to figuring out how to operate while the pandemic drags on. Robots could replace as many as 2 million more workers in manufacturing alone by 2025, according to a recent paper by economists at MIT and Boston University. Quote, this pandemic has created a very strong incentive to automate the work of human beings, says Daniel Susskind, a fellow in economics at Beloit College, University of Oxford, and the author of A World Without Work, Technology, Automation, and How We Should Respond. Machines don't fall ill. They don't need to isolate to protect peers. They don't need to take time off work. What do you have to say to that, Robert?
I gave you the article for a reason. We've come up on an hour, Jason.
That happened quicker than I thought. I do love the fact that people are saying right on to my mom. I'm sure she enjoys that. But I wish these people actually knew my mom. And then they would tell her to stop yelling at me all the time.
We had a good conversation for an hour there, brother.
You didn't think we could, we were supposed to have a special guest today.
We've done this several. We've had shows with just you and me a few times.
No, we were supposed to have our surprise guest was supposed to come in, and
I know he fronted on us. He fronted.
He fronted. So that's why light-skinned people. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
You got a saying for that, Pam Davis? She's rather light herself, so she probably does not. Thank you guys for the super chats. And I'm sorry that it wasn't working. That was weird. And Pascal on Sunday is going to be on Kenzo Shibata's show. I believe it comes on Kenzo. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is it 3 p.m. Pacific time? What time are you supposed to go on, Pascal?
I don't know. Kenzo got to tell me.
Oh, it's fucked up, Kenzo. You didn't tell him? I'm playing with you.
Someone said this should be a regular this should be a regular deal, guest or no guest, right?
We like I like having guests. We were prepared to have a guest. I used to do this show with no guests when it was just me in the studio talking to myself, and now that I talk to all these people, it's like holy shit. 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so that's 7 your time, Pascal, 7 Eastern Standard Time.
Riverman, thank you for the compliment. Forget the guest. Just let Pascal do his thing. Thank you very much.
Don't say that, Riverman.
Oh, wow.
See, when this show doesn't happen, Pascal calls me up and just hollers at me. That's not
How
true.
long is this show in this current format, LME? I've been on, we started it November or December?
Probably November.
November. November, December, January, February, March, April. We've been doing this for 6 months. Doesn't it feel like we've been doing this for 10 years?
Yes.
With me and Jason,
we argue like a married couple. We talk on the phone every day and go over these shows and just talk about regular shit. And it is a rather fun conversation that I have with Pascal. And like I said, I wish you guys could be privy sometimes to some of the conversations that we have, because sometimes Pascal will look over me as we're talking, because we actually talk like this through the what do you call it, the Facebook thing, and he goes, look at how old I sound, the Facebook thing with the thing, and he goes, nigga, this could be a show. So we were going to cancel today. I was actually very prepared to cancel today because I got my vaccine today. And Pascal was like, no, dude, I got an idea. We're going to talk about this. And so Pascal did not want me to have a day off because he is a slave driver. Let's just be honest.
Oops, no, not that at all. But guess what, folks?
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I mean,
the Jodeci of podcasting. y'all link like the Jodeci of podcasting. Jodeci had like 4 people in it though.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. They're saying that we are so good. But the question is, am I Devontae and Dalvin? Or am I Casey and JoJo? That's what you have to ask yourself. Which set of brothers am I? Phoenix is downstairs. He's not coming to get me, mama. No one can save you.
Riverman said, thank you for not canceling. Hey, man, we got to be consistent, man. We got to.
I was very prepared to cancel. We're looking at taking some time off in August. Because I don't think people understand how much time this takes and exactly.
It takes a lot of time. I still got a lot of reading to do. By the way, folks, guess who we have on Saturday? Norman Finkelstein, the great Norman Finkelstein.
Someone asked here's one of the things that we're adding since we fucking don't have a guest tonight. One of the things that we're adding to the show.
Listen, Joanna said like DeSuze and Mero, but smart and not rich.
You want to know how not rich we are? Pascal goes, "Hey man, I'm trying to call you. Your phone get cut off." I was like, "Yeah." Yes, it did get cut off. As the show is growing, there's definitely features that I want to add to the show. And one of the things that Pascal and I talked about with another person was doing a series of short histories that are going to be kind of animated. And we were kicking it off with China, and some things happened with the people that were working on the animation. And now I have another homie that hit me up recently, and we're going to work in getting that done. Of course, the movie night thing we're adding, and it looks like we're adding a Sunday show for this week. I can't guarantee it's going to keep happening, but we're going to be doing an Oscar show. Me, Forrest, if you're familiar with Forrest from the Ben Burgess show. I'm not sure if Ben Burgess is going to be on it. Pascal probably won't be there. Who else is going to be on it? Cathartic, that was on the show a couple Saturdays ago. And we're going to be kind of talking about some of the movies that are being nominated for Oscars that are supposed to be revolutionary that really aren't. And that'll be going down Sunday. I'll probably have a post for it, a more thorough post for exactly what we're going to be doing Saturday after the Saturday free show with Norman Finkelstein. And then this Thursday is Daniel Besner, or is that next Thursday?
It's this Thursday.
Oh, shit. This Thursday is Daniel Besner. And we'll be talking about, he actually read Obama's book. And Pascal wants to interrogate what he has to say about Obama's book. Yeah.
Carry on. I want a section where Pascal talks about his life. It's not that interesting. How's my book coming along? Slowly.
We kind of give him shit about that as much as possible.
Besner is great. We got fans of Besner in here.
Obama's book. Oh, God. Yeah. So Finkelstein actually gave us a preview of his upcoming book. And have you looked at it yet, Pascal? Like a first draft of it.
No, not yet. That's going to be tomorrow's activity most of the day. Thank you for that super chat.
Thank you, Ryan.
Ryan.
Is the title still Kill Whitey?
Kill Whitey will not be the title of my book.
Doug Lane, after I said that, Doug Lane sent me a message the next day. He was like, "Hey, by the way, tell Pascal I'm totally fine with the title."
What is the book about? The book, the proposed title of the book I was going to have think Torrey Reed tried to dissuade me from that because he doesn't like this theme. The title I was going to use was The Reckoning, from Obama to Trump and the Crisis of Black Politics. But Torrey was saying, I don't like reckoning discourse. It's too theological. It's too religious, blah, blah, blah. I might say F Torrey and go with that title.
Well, right now, you definitely should say F Torrey because he totally fucking... He could have hopped on. As you know what? Hold on, everybody. Let's just see. I'm gonna last second him again because he has a link to the show.
The whole premise of the book is going to be explain how political cleavages based on class and the functionality of Black politics are causing frictures in the traditional leadership model of Black politics, and how Trump's rise exacerbated that.
Let's see. Torrey Reed in the Patreon Hour. Well, let's see what happens. He just sent me not just like a few minutes ago. He sent me a text message that said Ted Nugent got COVID.
Oh wow!
No, Torrey didn't bail. The original guest was a professor friend of ours named Kelly Dietz. And she actually got her second dose, and she actually had said it the day before that she wasn't going to be able to make it. She wasn't feeling well.
No, it was not Torrey that bailed. It was Kelly Dietz who, the second shot of COVID knocked her out. She's a friend of the show.
Torrey, I hit up last minute and said, "Hey, can you come on and just talk shit with us?" And then he was like, "I don't know." So we were hoping that he would jump on as like some fun shit talk. I was like, "I need black guy talk." COVID. Can I just say that this shit cracks me the fuck up? Like real talk. Like these laughs aren't. That's just some funny ass shit y'all be saying.
Get some labor people on the show.
I would like that. Kenzo's kind of a labor person. Kenzo, would you call yourself a labor person?
Paul Prescott is a union guy, teachers union.
Paul is, yeah, but he's not like an organizer. He's just in the union. Because I made the mistake.
Oh my gosh! Someone suggested. What's the name of the woman? The woman who's the famous organizer on the left. Jane McAlvany.
McAlvany, yes.
We should try to get her.
Yeah, see, Kenzo says he's because Kenzo, don't you are you the head of your union in Chicago?
Jane McAlevey.
My mother is an organizer. She actually fought to unionize Walmart. She's been arrested organizing.
We someone said we should we just had the king of environmentalists on Saturday.
Someone told us that he wasn't a real revolutionary environmentalist, and we need to fuck off.
Why? Because what bombing pipelines isn't revolutionary enough?
I guess not, man.
What is this thing? This is LME said more black labor. Hello, Angela Walker. Duh.
Yeah. Angela is. I don't know. I love Angela. Angela is finally officially a part of the Saturday show too. By the way, Jason has a bass mom.
McAlevey. Thank you for telling me how to pronounce McAlevey. I was like, how do I pronounce this Irish woman's name?
As much as I want to have my mom on the show, all she would do is holler. Like I'm gonna get yelled at for saying that too. But my mom has actually done some. If you Googled my mom's name, you could actually see her talking in front of news cameras. You could see her getting arrested. She's been kind of flown all over to do organizing work in different parts of the country. So Pam Davis is a real one.
But
well, hook it up, Kenzo. I don't know, Jacob.
Kim Kelly to talk unions and black metal, as in black heavy metal, heavy music?
You don't want to hear my answer on that, Kenzo. I will give you an off-air answer, but she actually was scheduled to come on the show in a couple weeks and backed out. So no Kim Kelly.
The history of black labor: A. Philip Randolph, Bayard Rustin, Frederick Douglass.
My mom would totally beat me on camera. No, she wouldn't. She'd probably give me a hug. She's a nice lady. She's not hollering at me. The only person she doesn't fuss at is Phoenix.
The book, The Monkey Wrench Gang. The book, The Monkey Wrench Gang, is an incredible book about destroying capital to save the environment. Thank you for the suggestion, Andy Brown. I think Andy Brown is a new viewer to the show.
Welcome to the show, Brother Brown. You know what? Also, too, I like Andres, and I would like to have him back on the show. I'm actually pretty stoked that he
allergies, devoid reality. Allergies. Why am I sniffling?
I wouldn't say, is he the first black union or the biggest? I wouldn't say he's the first. No, he's not the first. I would say he's the biggest, maybe most well known. But there was brothers organizing unions 40 years before. I just can't think of the cat's name right now, but I can see his face. J. Andrew World keeps asking my mom if you should watch Low Down Dirty Shame. I don't think my mom's seen that movie, to be honest with you. My mom only watches Tyler Perry movies.
Oh my God.
It's not true. I'm totally lying. I don't think she's seen a Tyler Perry movie. My mom did say something funny today, and I'm gonna bust you out, Mom. My mom sends me a picture of that Nico House guy. She goes, "Do you know him?"
Nico.
I was like, I don't know him personally, but I think he's trash.
Hey man, come on, man. Why we shooting fuck? Come on, man.
That's one of those guys that can. Oh, my mom is watching Low Down Dirty Shame, by the way.
Why are we shooting shots at comrades on the left, man?
It really?
I don't know if it's a comrade, but I mean, just like
really. I'm good. Ben Fletcher, yeah. This is the cat, right?
Ben Fletcher, black leader of the IWW back in the day. He did lots of multiracial worker organizing. LME with the facts.
Oh, you're getting called out, Pascal. Speaking of,
I have no problem. I stick by
what did Pascal mean when tweeting at Breonna Joy Gray about material utility of race to capitalism and rendering poor and working class black people economically redundant in this country?
Well, if you watch the show, if you watch the video in which she's talking about race and class with Eddie Glaude, which I actually tagged in that tweet, they never mentioned capitalism, and they never mentioned that one of the racialized natures of capitalism in America is that it disproportionately renders black people to the reserve army of labor, meaning that black people will make up a disproportionate number of the poor. And if you notice, since the 70s, black unemployment has almost been consistently twice that of whites. Even the Liberal Center for American Progress has an article that talks about how the black-white unemployment gap is baked into the economy. I can Google that and actually find the link, if you will. And the larger point that I was trying to say, that all of this discourse about race and class by those two individuals divorced from a material analysis of how race facilitates the utility of capitalism really becomes kind of liberal hot air.
And as we talk about this before we go, I know we're over an hour, but since we're doing just me and you today, we'll give people this wonderful bonus that are new to the show. This brother right here, Larry Collins, is a toll collector. And because of COVID, California, I can't speak for anywhere else, we don't have our toll collectors anymore. And says here, was a bridge toll collector until COVID-19 led the state to automate the job to protect employees and drivers. I just want to go back to what I was doing, says Collins, whose job is among the millions that economists say could be lost forever as companies accelerate moves towards automation. As with so much of the pandemic, the new wave of automation will be harder on people of color like Collins, who is Black. Thank you. There's a picture there, and you have to tell us too. And low-wage workers. Many Black and Latino Americans are cashiers, food service employees, and customer service representatives, which are among the 15 jobs most threatened by automation, according to McKinsey. Even before the pandemic, the global consulting company estimated that automation could displace 132,000 Black workers in the U.S. by 2030. The deployment of robots as response to the coronavirus was rapid. They were suddenly cleaning floors at airports and taking people's temperatures. Hospitals and universities deployed Sally, a salad-making robot created by tech company Chowbotics to replace dining hall employees. Malls and stadiums bought Nightscope security guard robots to patrol empty real estate. Companies that manufacture in-demand supplies like hospital beds and cotton swabs turned to industrial robot supplier Yaskawa America to help increase production.
We've been going a little over an hour here, Jason. Are we doing a patrons only?
I mean, I'm kind of spent, and
I think on the fly, we produced a pretty good content-based show tonight, man.
Yes, and people are being so mean now in the chat. The chat is like mean and nice and nice and mean, but at the end of the day, it's really fucking funny. I have to say, it's really fucking funny. The fight for jobs and freedom needs to be revived. I agree. But you know what? Think about the leaders that were trying to lead that movement. And was it 64, 63, the fight, the march for jobs and freedom? And now we have the leaders fighting for what? What is Al Sharpton fighting for, Pascal?
A better perm?
Can there be a better perm than Al Sharpton's?
His joint is pretty laid back. He's pretty laid. He's fried up real good.
Laid to the side.
He's fried up real good.
Like 63. Okay, I can think of the year off the top of my head. But seriously, where are these Black leaders talking about when it comes to jobs, automation? Nothing.
They want the fatback and biscuits. Fatback and biscuits.
Jesse Jackson was out today.
He's got Parkinson's.
Aw. He definitely wasn't asking for jobs either. Another ride in a private jet, my mom says what they're asking for. Yeah, wasn't Al Sharpton walking to a private jet?
That's Federal informant number 7, Al Sharpton.
Damn. Come on, man. He was on Soul Train.
Yeah. Whatever.
Next, you're going to hate on Don Cornelius?
He was a cop before he was a producer of Soul Train.
Don Cornelius?
That's correct.
He's got cop energy. I can see that.
He does have cop energy.
Yang tried to get people to talk. What? Sorry, I missed that. What is Yang trying to do? Oh, Tamika was out there too? Yeah, that perm joke was pretty damn funny. Al Sharpton was James Brown road manager.
Allegedly, they had some connection to James Brown, so they say.
Speaking of perms, there was a dance. The James Brown movie. Has anybody in the chat watched the James Brown movie with
Chadwick Boseman?
There you go. I don't know how I feel about that movie, but there was parts of it that I rather enjoyed. Yeah, you can always use the quotes. You just got to clear the sample. Got to clear the sample. All right, man. there's not much more to say. I think you asked a very good question. I should hear, before we go, I'm going to link this article for people. Time magazine article. I think it's kind of interesting article about automation and jobs moving forward. I've been having kind of long discussions, not so much about automation, but the future of music with a lot of my music friends, because a lot of people just think that, oh, don't worry, these restrictions are going to lift and everything's going to go back to normal. And I just don't see that happening. Somebody doesn't know how they feel about it. Here you go. Read that one, Pascal.
Davon Love interviewed by Dr. J.A.B. Jared Ball. Look him up. Who's Dr. J.A.B.? He put awesome input on local Black politics in his city with national implications. Davon Love. Oh, yeah. He's from the Leaders of a Beautiful Struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I believe that he's with Leaders of a Beautiful. I saw an interview with him. I think he's from Leaders of a Beautiful Struggle in Baltimore. I saw an interview with him, but he seemed like he was defending Marilyn Mosby. He wrote an article defending Marilyn Mosby, the prosecutor in Baltimore, from critiques from the left. I don't know how good I feel about people who defend the Black political class. That's not ever my first instinct, ever. So I wouldn't mind having Davon Love on, but I really would like to interrogate him about why he feels it's particularly important to defend Marilyn Mosby.
Would you defend Tom Bradley?
No.
I'm just going to start naming Black mayors.
Because I understand the purpose of the Black political class.
Yeah. Yeah.
LME likes Davon Lowe. She should, check him out. Get him to explain. Ball asks some deep questions. You should too. I've seen him before. Smart brother. He's very sharp. Very sharp cat.
Someone says, who would you defend?
I believe in what Bruce Dixon called the best of the bad lot, meaning that there are some Black politicians who are, quote unquote, the best of a bad lot. I think that your boy who was out in the Bay Area before he became mayor, when he was in the Congressional Black Caucus back in Ron Dellums, before he became mayor, when he was in Congressional Black Caucus, he was a cat that I would say was the best of a bad lot.
You ever heard Boots Riley on Democracy Now! In that interview where he's talking about Ron Dellums?
No, I heard he messed up when he became mayor, though.
I've heard, we've talked about that off air stories I've heard, and which I won't repeat on because I don't know if they're true. And I'm in Oakland. Last thing I want is somebody trying to fuck me up over something I heard. So fuck that noise. Riverman says I will defend Marion Barry.
I know DC folk love Marion Barry. I know that. I understand the rationale behind that. I mean, the thing to remember about the Black urban regime mayors, right? The Black urban regime mayors is that because most of those guys came out of the civil rights movement, and they were the first manifestation kind of like of ethnic politics in the post-civil rights era, they at least felt an obligation to give material-based concessions to some segment of the Black constituency, even though traditionally it was the Black middle class, like in Atlanta with Maynard Jackson, sometimes to the disadvantage of the Black poor and working class. So they would kick back some patronage, and Marion Barry was very good at that. He did do some type of constituent services with just summer jobs programs for the youth and jobs for the city. So I understand the affection, But understand, many of them still signed on to the policies that facilitated things like gentrification, mass incarceration, or in other ways, they still worked within a frame in which the overall capacity of governance, because of neoliberalism, was shrinking in its ability to bring goods and services to Black people. So even though, yes, they gave good, concessions as Black urban regimes to Black folk, compared to what in the 50s and 60s, say a Mayor Daley, who was mayor of Chicago, was able to do for white ethnics, was not the same kind of largesse. But I will say this about the Black urban regimes of the post-civil rights era in the 70s and 80s and 90s. They were a much better differentiation than the rise of the neoliberal Negroes, Obama, Cory Booker, Adrian Fenty, Harold Ford Jr., Kamala Harris, who are only beholden to neoliberal capital, Wall Street, big finance, charter school movements, and don't give a damn about giving concessions to any constituent, Black or otherwise.
Ryan, is it Ryan or Ryan? I don't want to say your name wrong. I don't really know Amy Therese that well. I just know a little bit about what like Varn and Lane have told me. But I want to know why people like Clyburn. Before we started the show, I wish we would have started earlier. That's my bad. So I apologize. We were having a pretty good Kamala Harris discussion because Pascal and I have been reading her father, Donald Harris.
Yes, Donald Harris is the fire Marxist economist. He is the fire Marxist economist.
If you're a patron and you saw the bonus footage that we did with Adolph Reed, we actually talked about Donald Harris a little bit. We asked if he'd known him, and he sent us an email the next day. He goes, I found this Donald Harris thing, and it was about the idea of the internal colony, the inner city ghetto.
Internal colonial theory, yes.
And he breaks it down. It's a dope fucking, and it's from 1972. But he broke that shit down. And you found some new shit on him too, right, Pascal?
Yeah, he talks about I have the piece. I have it in my email here somewhere.
Should we put up can we put up that whole, you think Adolf wouldn't care if we put up that
I mean, it's a PDF, right? If we can find a way to pull up the PDF. This is another piece from Donald Harris, Capitalist Exploitation and Black Labor, Some Conceptual Issues. I found that today.
Yes. Okay, hold on. Oh, let me get your shoes.
People are like, put it on the Discord. You see how Jason just got up and left and put the whole show in my hands without any like statement or request. All of a sudden, the whole show is in my hands. You know what I want to do? I'm going to read some of. I should read some Donald Harris.
So Phoenix is saying hi to you, Pascal.
I'm glad. Hi, Phoenix. I'm glad you're back.
He's not. He can't put the mail in the mailbox for you, son. Can you say hi to Grandma? Because Grandma's watching.
Hey, Grandma.
Look that way. Say hi, Grandma.
Jason is back, so I'm not going to read it. Sorry.
Oh, that's messed up. You can read it.
I told him that I was going to read some Donald Harris.
Hey, give this to Mommy. This is actually hers.
Okay, folks, this is from Donald J. Harris, Capitalist Exploitation and Black Labor, Some Conceptual Issues. This paper seeks to examine the substantive meaning of the concept of exploitation and its implications for analysis of the situation of Black labor in American capitalism. It is intended to introduce some theoretical clarity and precision into ongoing discussions of that situation by separating out different strands of thought and analysis. It needs to be said, as trite as it may seem, that words are not just words. They have a meaning, and that meaning, whatever it is, must be made sharply clear. As categories for social analysis, their meaning must be seen to derive from the particular analytical system in which they are rooted. When located within such an analytical system, they have quite definite meaning and implications for the analysis of any concrete situation. Therefore, for the purposes of specific analysis, it is necessary to probe behind such categories in order to determine their substance and meaning. This is evidently so for the concept of exploitation. As for any other concept in common usage, exploitation is taken loosely to include a multiplicity of forms of social oppression and abuse occurring within many different spheres of social life. It is also taken to imply strong moral or ethical condemnation. Nevertheless, there exists a definite and precise scientific meaning of this concept resting on well-articulated theoretical foundations. This paper considers the concept in terms of its scientific meaning and examines its relevance to analysis of the situation of Black labor in the United States. That is Kamala Harris's father.
I wrote in the chat that I'm going to go ahead and take that PDF that I have on there. It's about 31 pages, but I'll upload it to the patron site because I thought it was a really interesting read. He's challenging someone's work. Did you know the person's work who he was challenging?
In the other piece where he's talking about internal colonial theory, he's challenging a scholar. I forgot his name.
Tubbs. I wasn't familiar with the gentleman, but he really kind of basically. And I'm making a long story very short. He's like, a lot of this shit that you are calling the internal colonial theory is just feelings, and it's not really based in any sort of economic fact. And I'm going to break this down using actually economics. Buttigieg's daddy was a Gramsci scholar.
No, I'm not a fan of the internal colonial theory, LME, and that's why I like Donald Harris, because he debunks it.
In 72.
In 1972, which was a pretty much watershed moment for Black Power.
That, we're also dealing with coming off the Moynihan report right after that time too. So, and he kind of calls that out a little bit, not too much, but I don't know. I enjoyed reading that. I was kind of blown away by it. I fucking was calling Pascal up like, dude, did you finish this? This is insane. So I told Pascal he needs to write a paper about an article about Harris's
critique of internal colonial theory.
So,
Jason, we have gone well over an hour.
I know, and you saw the boy ran in here, so you know what time that is.
The Powell memo from 1971. We should do a show on the Powell memo.
I'm down. I got it. He's being very too right now.
No, internal colonial theory posits the notion that Black people live unitarily in one ghetto colony or various ghetto colonies and are exploited like a colony. So my question is that where's Kamala Harris's house in the colony, or Robert Smith, the Black billionaire, or Oprah Winfrey? But
you didn't know Oprah Winfrey lives in the colony with the rest of us?
Yeah, don't believe that.
The colony where you get fucking $30,000 purses or whatever the fuck it is. Most disappointed child of a Marxist scholar has to go to Ed Miliband.
I think that's pretty up there.
Yeah. Jesus. That's a damn shame. How many more are there? It's fucking sad. All right. Oprah Winfrey recolonized Maui. Damn, you guys are so mean.
Jason, when you put this on the audio only podcast, are you gonna be doing serious editing, or are you just gonna put it out there?
I put it out just like this, unless there's something I have to take out, like
not that Robert Smith, J. Andrew world.
Did I ever tell you guys a Robert Smith story about the time The Cure came to the studio and got Smash Mouth kicked out? Did I ever tell you guys that story? It's pretty funny. But maybe next time. I'm sorry, I'm reading the chat. You guys are fucking hilarious. Okay. On that note, we've spoken longer than we thought we were going to speak. And I think we stayed on topic a little bit, left it a little bit. What do you think, Pascal?
I think we did a good job. Until you started drifting.
It's always my fault. I'll take the responsibility for that. I'll take the responsibility for that. Thank you guys for the super chats. Thank you guys for checking it out. Thursday, we have Daniel Bester on, so we will be here 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thank you again. Show moderator John Ross. Thank you to Pam Davis for being my wonderful mother, helping me get this insane sense of humor. And I will be dropping that boy off early in the morning, so be ready. So I went to so LME lives the city over from me, and I go to the store in the city that she lives in, and I always wonder if I see her at the grocery outlet. So
this is not this is the Jodeci podcast. That's hilarious.
All right, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna tell you something really funny. So I thought Jodeci were like the coolest dudes in the world. It was at 91 that shit came out. And I had got some money for Christmas, and Jodeci had like Doc Marten boots. And of course, I couldn't afford Doc Marten boots. So I took my Christmas money, and me and my cousin Keenan got to go to Kmart. And we went to Kmart, and we were looking for Jodeci boots. And so the only thing I could find that was like big enough, like Jodeci boots, were these like ski boots. So I walked around with these ski boots, thinking they were Jodeci boots.
And that's why you play heavy metal music to this day.
I just want you to know that. So whenever they say Jodeci, that's the first thing I think about is me trying to sing Forever My Lady in ski boots with my pants tucked into my ski boots. I want you to get an image of that in your head. Laugh real hard. All right. And on that note, all right. And on that note, we are